Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Treasure's Craft and my name is Treasure Peter. On today's tutorial, I'll be showing you guys how to draft this 3-part corset with detachable sleeves. If you're a beginner, this video will be very helpful to you because I took my time to really explain how to draft this in a very simplified way. So there are 2 parts to this video. This is the first part, and this first part shows how to draft it. The second part shows how to sew it. So guys, I decided to cut this video into 2 so that it will not be too long, because I usually have issues uploading very long videos. If it's something you're interested in, please keep on watching till the end, and if you've not subscribed, do well to subscribe and also hit the notification bell so that whenever I drop other videos, you'll be notified. So guys, let's go straight into the drafting of this corset. I'll be making use of 2 yards of this Ankara fabric, although I didn't finish the 2 yards. I also use lining. This is just a normal lining. I'm using 1 yard, and then this is my hairstay. I'm going to interface it on both the lining as well as the material. This is the bias to create my boning channels. I also make use of this bra cup. This is actually exactly size 34, and that is my bust circumference. I also made use of this boning. This is the non-sewable boning. Make sure to get a boning size that will conveniently pass through your bias after sewing. So guys, let's get started with the drafting. So first thing I did was I folded my pattern paper into 2. It's not compulsory. If you want to keep it once, it's still very okay. So guys, I'll be drafting the basic bodice pattern first, and then I will turn it to our corset pattern. So firstly, I went ahead to draw the starting line, which is the shoulder line. From the starting line, I marked from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. I marked what I had. From the shoulder line, I went ahead to confirm the length of this pattern paper. So it's actually 24 inches, and I'll maintain it to be the full length of my top, although I'm still going to reduce it. And then I went ahead to mark my shoulder to waist line and drew the lines across. So this is the bust line and this is the waist line. And then I proceeded to label my lines. So the up one is the shoulder line, then my bust point, and then my waist line. It was then I realized that I did not measure my shoulder to under bust. It is actually important because I'm making a corset. So I went ahead to measure from my shoulder to my under bust. I marked it and drew the line across also, and I went ahead to label it my under bust. So guys, I went ahead to measure my shoulder measurement divided by 2. I marked what I had, and then I went ahead to just take my neck width of 3 inches and neck depth of 3 inches. This is not the neckline we are going to be making use of. I'm just drawing it for the meantime. At the shoulder point, I came down with 1 inch. That is serving as my shoulder slant, and I connected it back to the neckline. After that, I proceeded to take my armhole. To do that, from the shoulder slant, I measured my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. I marked what I had, and on that line, I also went ahead to take my shoulder measurement divided by 2. I went ahead to draw the line to connect to the shoulder slant, and then I proceeded to also draw the line as my chest line. So guys, the next thing I did was to take the armhole. I measured from the shoulder slant to the chest line, got the half of it, and then I came in with ½ inch, and then I connected it back to the shoulder slant in this manner, and then I measured my bust circumference divided by 4. I marked what I had and then connected it back to that point to form my armhole. The next thing I proceeded to do was to take the darts. So for that, I took my nipple to nipple divided by 2, and I marked what I had. My nipple to nipple is actually 7 inches, divided by 2 is 3.5. So I went ahead to mark it on my waistline, on my under bust, on my bust point, as well as the full length, and then I drew the line across straight like so. So after that, I proceeded to draw the darts. I came down with 1 inch from the bust point. I took in ½ inch on both sides at the waistline, and then I went up with 1 inch at the full length point. which is almost like our hip line measurement point. Then I proceeded to draw the dart, to just take the dart like so. So guys, after this dart, we are going to be taking the main part of the corset. This is just the basic bodice pattern. So for this corset, first I went ahead to divide my shoulder measurements from the neck width into two. I got the midpoint and then I connected it back to the bust point in this manner. So guys, at this point I'll be taking my circumference measurement. So for the waistline, I did not take my actual waistline. I'm going to be snatching it by 2 inches. That means my waist is actually 28 inches, but I'm using 26 inches. So I'll be using 6.5 inches for my actual waist measurement. I hope you understand. So I went ahead to mark the 6.5 and then I proceeded to mark my hip measurements on the hip line, which is also the hem line. And then take note, I didn't replace my dart at the waistline. After that, I proceeded to connect the lines together using my hip curve in this manner. So as you can see, I've not replaced the dart yet. This is because I want to replace the dart at once when I'm done taking out my corset. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take my bust dart. So for that, I came down with 2 inches from the bust point. So to determine how many inches you'll be taking for the bust dart, go ahead to take the difference between your shoulder to waist in front and your shoulder to waist at the back. So I've done a comprehensive video on how to take all these body measurements. I'm going to drop it on my description box below, so you go ahead to check it out. So to form the bust dart, I connected it from that 2 inches to my bust point like so. So guys, at this point, the next thing I'll be doing is to take out the dart for the corset. So this was just the normal waist dart, but for the corset you have to take out extra dart. So from this line of the dart leg, I decided to take 3/4 of an inch from both sides. So I just decided to take 3/4 of an inch. This is just depending on your body size and on what you want. If you are on a bigger size, you can take 1 inch from both sides. Then I connected the line to meet the down part of my top, just like this. So if your bust is from 36 inches and above, 1 inch is actually okay. I feel 1 inch is actually okay. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to just cut out this shoulder and the neck part. After that, I went ahead to draw my curve from the under bust point to the bust point, just like this. So just go ahead to use your curved ruler to draw yours. So guys, at this point I had to cut out the midpoint of the shoulder so I'll be able to close our bust dart. So just go ahead to cut yours out and cut it and stop at the bust point. So after cutting it, I went ahead to close the bust dart. You can go ahead to just use your gum or whatever to just tape it down and close the bust dart. So this is what we have after closing it. Just go ahead to fill in this space. You have to blend it in so there will be no shortage at that point. So guys, after blending it in, this was what we had. The next thing I'm going to do is to work on this upper part. So I proceeded to measure what I had from my bust point to my under bust point. I had 3 inches, so I decided to take the same 3 inches upwards because I wanted it to cover my bust very well. You can go ahead to use your chest line to form your neckline, but for mine I went up with 3 inches from my bust point. I did the same thing at the other side. I marked what I had, so this is going to serve as my new neckline. So guys, at the center of the front on the chest line, I came down with 1 inch, and at that 1 inch point I came in with ½ inch. Then I drew the line across, and then I connected it from there to meet the up part as well as the down part using my French curve. So just watch how I'm going to be connecting them. So guys, just make sure that you keep your French curve to look full. Don't keep it in this manner, just keep it in a fuller form, just like this, and then connect it in this manner. and then for the upper part I proceeded to also connect it in this form. After that, guys, for this other side I went ahead to take what we had from our nipple to nipple divided by 2, which is 3.5 inches, and I went ahead to mark it at the bust point line, and then I connected it in this manner to meet my underbust. So just go ahead to connect it from that bust point to meet the underbust, and then just take it up straight like this. So guys, around this armhole part I went up with about 1/2 inch, and then I marked what I had and I went ahead to connect it to meet up with the top part, with the center part, and then I connected it towards the side in this manner. If you want it to be a strapless top, this is just how you connect it. So guys, for this upper part we have to take out the darts before cutting. So for the upper part around the center side I went in with 1 inch, and then at the other side I went out with 1/2 inch. So in total that is 1.5 inch. So I went ahead to just connect it back. This is a way of tightening the upper bust so that it will give you a good fit around this part. So at this point I went ahead to just mark out the parts that we are going to be cutting off. Next thing I did was to take the actual length of my top, where I want my top to stop. I wanted it to be like a form of a short top, so I decided to use 22 inches. So go ahead to measure your preferred top length. So guys, I proceeded to draw a straight line. So this is the length of our top. Then at the side I decided to go up with 1.5 inch, so I would have this beautiful curve at the down part. So you can go up with up to 2 inches or even 3 inches depending on what you want. So this is just my preferred length of top, and this is just how I want mine to look like. So I went ahead to just curve the down part using my hip curve, and I proceeded to mark out that part, knowing I'm going to cut it off at that point. So the next thing we are doing is to add our allowances. Remember our dart intake, I measured the total dart and I noticed that it was actually 2 inches, so I had to extend the 2 inches. So just go ahead to extend all your dart intakes. I went ahead to measure here also, and I had to confirm it, and also proceeded to take the exact measurement. And then for this part I also went ahead to measure the allowances that I left, which was 1.5 inch, and then I proceeded to connect the new points to form our new bodies, just like this. So guys, note at this point I have not added the seam allowance yet, I only replaced the dart. So guys, at this point we are done drafting this top. I'll just go ahead to cut it out. So this is the line I'm going to be cutting it out with. Before cutting, guys, I proceeded to label the center front and the side front. This is very important, especially if you're a beginner. You have to always label your cups. So I proceeded to cut out this corset. So just watch how I'm cutting it. If you're a beginner especially, it's very important you know where to cut. So just follow the way I am cutting it and also cut yours the same way. So guys, if you've watched up to this point, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and also do well to subscribe if you've not yet subscribed, so that you'll be notified when I drop more valuable videos. So guys, this is it. I went ahead to just open it up to show you guys what it looks like. So this is how it ought to look like. So I went ahead to just cut out the center part of the camera, so I'll only have one side and I'll drop this other side. This was what I had after cutting it off. This is it. I'll just keep this together, tape it down, and use it to cut out the back part. So guys, after taping it down, this was what I had. I went ahead to just place it on the another piece of pattern paper to cut out the back. I did not add any zip allowance because we are not adding any zip at the back, because we are going to be lacing the back. So I went ahead to just tape it down, and then I used my marker to trace it down from the down part towards the sides and also towards the armhole area, but I just stopped it around the armhole area. I didn't reach the neckline part. After tracing it out, this was what I had. I went ahead to just use my curve to just do a random neckline. I didn't want it to be straight, so I made it slanted. So I proceeded to cut it out just like so. So guys, after cutting, this was what I had. Now I'm going to reduce it a bit around that center part because of the back lacing, and I'll be adding a corset ring. So I used 1.5 inch. You can use 2 inches or 3 inches depending on what you want. I didn't want it to really be open, that was why I used 1.5 inch. Then I proceeded to connect the line like this. So I just had to draw another line. Yeah, so I'm going to show you guys where our corset ring will be. So this is just an illustration of how we are going to fix the corset ring. So I went ahead to just cut it out at that 1.5 inch part, and that is it. Our back is ready. So guys, for the front, remember our corset is actually a 3-part corset, so we have to change the 2-part corset to a 3-part corset. In order to do that, I place the cups together, making it to face the right direction, the center front and as well as the side front. Note I indicated it with an arrow. At the center part of the center front, I came down with 2 inches, but at the side part of the center front, I came down with 1.5 inch, and I connected it to meet the 2 inches in this manner. I did the same thing over here. I came down with 2 inches at the center front of the side front, and then I came down with 1.5 inch at the side front of the side front and connected it together also. I hope you guys understand. So after that, I proceeded to cut it out. So just go ahead to cut it out just like this. So because I discovered that the center front part went up, I had to rewrite my center front and side front again, and I had to indicate the arrows again. So for the up part, I had to tape it down. So just go ahead to tape down the up part. I'm going to be tracing it out on another pattern paper again. So I proceeded to just place it on another piece of pattern paper, and I use my marker to trace it out, making sure that I blend the parts that are not blended. Then I had to label it again, the center front and the side front, and I proceeded to cut it out. So guys, this video will be too long if I proceed to do the sewing of this corset, so I'm going to be uploading the sewing part soon. So this was what I had when I was done cutting the front part also. This is the front side as well as the back sides together. So I'll proceed to cut it on my fabric. So in our next tutorial, I'll be doing the sewing part of this corset. So guys, this was what I had after cutting it on the fabric. I added 1/2 inch round the cup areas. For the side, I added the normal seam allowance of 1.5 inches. For this cup area, I added 1/2 inch, and at the top part, I also added 1/2 inch. I did not have any allowance around the armhole area. Then I also added 1/2 inch at the down part. So note the center part was cut on fold. This is it after opening it up. And then this is the back side. I also added 1.5 inch side seam allowance, 1/2 inch at the down, 1/2 inch round all the areas, and I didn't add anything at the armhole. So guys, this is the end of this video. This was the outcome of our corset top after sewing. So our next video I'll be dropping will be on the sewing part of this corset top. Do well to hit the subscribe button if you've not, and also turn on your notification bell so that when I drop this video of the sewing part, you'll be notified. Thank you so much for watching up to this point, and see you guys in my next video. Bye.